think they should round all of them up, put them on a boat, and ship them to some deserted island. Then nature can take its course.
Just kill them all off. I mean, it's only a matter of time before they turn on us. By waiting, all we're doing is giving them time to mobilize.
Yeah, hey everybody, this is Carl. And I wanted to say that I really don't care what we do with these people, as long as my hard-earned tax dollars don't go towards paying for it. All right, why should we take care of them and their kids? They got to go out there, get jobs, and make their own way. All right, there's no free rides for anybody. There wasn't for me, and there shouldn't be for them.
Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Eli Ramble Interviews. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Seth Devlin. Seth is a husband, father, and as you've probably noticed, a zombie. Since the outbreak 2 years ago from causes still unknown, zombies have become a natural and accepted way of life. Some have been domesticated for menial tasks, others have been hunted down for sport. However, others, like Seth here, have been moved to government-established reservations to live. Unwanted by most and understood by few, Seth and his wife Kara are trying to live as close to normal as possible, all while raising a child. Seth, I'd like to begin by saying thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Please, call me Eli.
Okay, Eli.
So, why don't we start off by you telling us a little about yourself?
Okay, Eli. My name is Seth Devlin. I'm 35 years old. I was born and raised in Elmira, New York. I have a beautiful wife named Kara and a wonderful daughter named Serenity.
So, how did you and your wife meet?
We met in high school.
So you were high school sweethearts?
No, not even close. We couldn't stand each other at first. It wasn't until years later, at a mutual friend's wedding, that we actually hit it off.
How old is your daughter?
She is 7, going on 30.
Are you and your daughter close?
Yes, very much so. She is my world.
It's amazing that you two could remain so close throughout all this.
It says something about the bond between a father and a daughter.
So, what did you do before all this?
Before this, I worked behind a desk as a debt collection specialist.
What does that entail?
I collected on credit card debt.
So you were one of those people that bothered me at 8 a.m. on a Saturday while I was trying to watch my cartoons.
If you owed money on a credit card, there's a good possibility.
So what do you do now?
Now I work for an online auction site.
So, would you mind telling us, what were you doing the night you became a zombie?
Eli, if you don't mind, I prefer the term Undead American.
Undead American?
Yes, that is the term we here in the community prefer to be called.
Is there any specific reason for this?
We believe the term zombie is detrimental to our cause. It undeservedly makes us into monsters. It lumps us all together. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some that don't deserve that title, but there are others that just want to go about their lives, or what semblance of a life they have.
Which I'm sure is not easy.
It's not. It's a struggle every day, which isn't made a bit easier by Hollywood turning out horror movie after horror movie with the undead as the villain.
So you blame Hollywood for the world's view of the undead?
No, not entirely. But it sure doesn't help.
How so?
Hollywood only displays us as mindless killers, as creatures with no other purpose than to feed on the flesh and innards of the living.
Why do you think this is?
In simplest terms, evil selves. Think about it, Eli. What stories get the largest headlines, first billing on the evening news? Bad and evil things. Good things get buried on the back page or just before the commercial break.
And yet you say not entirely.
Ultimately, people are responsible for their own actions and opinions. They're supposed to be smart enough to separate real life from the silver screen. Unfortunately, some people are just too stupid to do so.
Couldn't agree more. Moving on. Why don't you tell us what you were doing the night you became a member of the undead community?
Well, it was shortly after the outbreak. My wife and I were having a date night, and she decided she wanted some snacks. It was a nice night out, and we didn't live too far, so I decided to walk. As I did, I came upon a child, and to me it looked like she was crying. So being concerned, I went up, knelt down beside her, put my arm around her to see if I could help. And to my surprise, she wasn't crying. She was eating a cat. I mean, she was really going to town on this thing. Before I could get up and get away, she turned around and bit down on my arm. I sat there and tried to shake her free, but she just wouldn't let go.
Could we see the bite?
Yes.
Ew, gross. So, what did you do to get away?
Eli, I started punching this kid in the head. I mean, I was really wailing on her. And after a few good blows, she finally let go, and I got the hell out of there.
Did you go to the hospital?
No, I went to the only place I could think of.
To your wife.
Exactly.
So, what did your wife do when you got home?
She didn't know what to do. I mean, we put peroxide on it, followed by alcohol. Hell, we even tried to cauterize it.
Obviously it didn't work.
It did, to a point. But God love her, she sat up all night while the transformation took place.
She watched you transform into a zombie? Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, the undead?
She sat at the end of the bed with a shotgun pointed at my head, just in case I became one of those flesh eaters.
So you're saying there are different levels to this transformation?
Yes, there are complete transformations like the mindless killers that everybody's used to. Then there are transformations like mine that give you some semblance of who you were when you were alive, but ultimately you're still undead.
How could your wife tell the difference between a flesh eater and what you became?
I guess it's because I could answer her when spoken to.
So, was this transformation painful?
Yes, it was very painful. The most painful thing I've ever experienced. There are no words to adequately describe it. That I could feel every one of my organs withering away.
That sounds horrible.
It is.
How did your wife handle all of this?
Honestly, I think it's harder on her than it is on me.
What do you mean?
Because for me, here I'm safe. The military posted around the clock, and I can work from home with no worries. But for her, it's different. She works out there in the real world, where there's no protection for her. People chastise and ridicule her for being with me. They don't understand that we love each other, that we have a child together. All they see is a living person with an undead one.
What about your daughter?
Oh man, children are the worst. She's been called zombie child, had raw meat and other things thrown at her. You don't know how many times she's come home asking me if I can just be alive again.
That's got to be very hard on you.
It's unbearable.
Seth, earlier in the week, my crew sent out a tweet to my followers asking people to send in video questions they would like asked. Would you mind if we go to them?
Of course not, that's what we're here for.
First question.
Hello, Eli. First-time questionnaire, long-time journalist. Seth, I would like to know, what is it that you like to eat?
Let me start out by first saying, my diet has definitely changed. I no longer eat subs and french fries. I now eat raw meat and drink blood.
You drink blood?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Where would you get that?
My wife or myself squeeze it out of raw meat, or a local butcher will sometimes save it for me.
Okay, I have to ask, do you drink it hot or cold?
I've had it both ways. I guess it just depends on the weather.
I'm certain most of my viewers will find that completely disgusting.
And they'd be right. It's taken my wife quite a long time to get used to it. But unfortunately, it's the only thing that cures the cravings that come with being undead.
Are you ever worried that these cravings might overwhelm you and you may turn on your family?
Yes, it's my biggest fear.
Have you and your wife set up any contingency plans just in case?
Of course we have.
Would you mind cluing us in as to what these might be?
Well, for her safety, I have her walk around with a .45 pistol. And she's assured me that any chance of me being a threat, she won't hesitate to put a bullet in my head.
Just like that.
Just like that. When it comes to the safety of your child, you can't hesitate.
I'm sure it would still be a very hard decision.
Life's full of hard decisions.
That it is. Moving on.
Hey Eli, it's Andrew here. Keep up the good work. Love the show. Seth, what do you do for fun?
Well, for fun, I like to play Xbox and do things with my family.
Sounds like you try to keep a pretty normal life.
I do. I found keeping things as close to normal as possible allows me to hold on to what I was. And it even makes it a little bit easier on my little one.
I can imagine. The less change, the better.
Exactly.
And why do you play Xbox?
Because Xbox is awesome. I mean, I can get together with people from all over the world. And the only thing they have to judge me by is my gaming skills and my knowledge on the things that I'm talking about.
That's got to be a nice escape for you.
You have no idea how nice it is to be talked to like a normal living human being. Not to be threatened or screamed at.
Ready for the next question?
Of course.
Hi Eli, Emily here. I would love to know, Seth, what do you feel is the biggest challenge facing yourself and the undead community as a whole?
Personally, for me, it's accepting who I've become and realizing that I will never again be who I once was. As far as the undead community as a whole, we must choose to educate, not instill fear. We must accept the fact that there are those out there who will never accept us and that will hate us no matter what we do. We must move past those people and just reach the ones we can.
But what about those who say you should be eliminated?
People are instinctively afraid of things they don't understand. It's definitely an uphill battle, but it's one we must fight.
So, is this interview the start of that education process?
It is a start. I'm hoping by being open and honest to all questions that people will be more understanding and open to us.
But why you?
Why me what?
Why are you the one stepping out in front of all the cameras and putting yourself at risk?
Because someone has to do it. Someone has to get the ball rolling. And besides, being a former debt collector, I'm used to abuse.
Seth, Lucy Dillon tweeted in earlier this week and would like to know, do you believe in God?
Honestly, Eli, I'm on the fence with that.
How so?
Part of me says, no, there is no God. If there was, how could he allow this to happen to me?
And the other part?
The other part says there most certainly is. How else could I be here to see my daughter grow, to love my wife? Only a spiritual power of the highest order could allow that to happen.
Which one is more correct?
The verdict is still out on that.
Hey Eli, I'm Kelly from Red Bank, and I'd just like to know, Seth, do you and your wife still have sex?
You don't have to answer if it's too private.
No, it's fine. I'll answer. Sex is an important part of life, even for the undead.
Okay, then do you?
Yes, we do.
Wow, really?
Yes, sir.
Well, if you don't have a heartbeat, how do you,
Implant.
You mean like silicone or pipe cleaner device?
An implant, yes, but not silicone or a pipe cleaner. It's more like an inflatable device.
Inflatable?
Yes, do you remember the old school shoe that had the pump in the tongue?
You mean the ones where you push on the tongue and it makes them tighter?
Exactly. When you're in the mood, you just pump yourself up. When the mood is over, you deflate yourself.
And where would you have that done? I mean, just in case.
There's a doctor who comes and does life-improving procedures.
And how much would he charge for something like that?
He doesn't charge anything.
That's awfully considerate of him.
Yes, it is.
Has he ever told you why he does this?
All I can say is it hits close to home for him.
Does this doctor have a name?
He would also prefer to stay anonymous.
Why? Someone doing such a good deed deserves to be praised, even rewarded.
Yes, I agree with you. But he's afraid that if his living patients find out that he's helping us, they'll turn on him.
Well, I guess the important thing is that there's a good deed being done out there.
That's the way we see it.
Our next question is from Steve in Corning.
Hi, Seth. Steve here. How do you feel about the living adopting traits and clothing from the undead community?
Well, Steve, it can be a blessing and a curse.
How so?
Well, it can be a blessing because adopting is the first step in acceptance. By taking on aspects of our culture, hopefully they are also learning about it. It's a curse because for some reason people think that by dressing like us and acting like us, they somehow know what it's like to be us.
And yet they don't?
No. Ultimately, if things get too tough for them, they can just change what they're wearing or how they look. We cannot. We can't change who or what we are.
I never thought of it like that.
Most people don't.
Seth, earlier you were talking about your wife. And by your tone and your inflections, we can tell you love her very much, and she must love you as well. But we are wondering, why doesn't she join you for the interviews?
Well, she's more of a woman behind the man type of girl. But she does come to them all. Matter of fact, she's right over there.
Hello, Mrs. Denlin.
Hello, Mr. Rambo.
Can I interest you into coming over here and sitting with us?
No, thank you. This is Seth's show.
Well, I figured I would try.
Hey, no harm in trying.
Seth, I would like to ask this in closing. What do you miss most about being alive?
Honestly, it would have to be the ability to walk about unnoticed, to walk hand in hand with my wife down the street.
And what do you like most about being undead?
I like knowing that I am loved.
How do you mean loved?
I know I'm loved because my wife stood beside me. She could have easily just left me, but instead, she decided to stand strong beside me.
You two are proof that love is blind.
Or a little bit of masochist.
A little of both?
Probably.
Seth, is there anything you would like to say to our viewers before we go?
Yes, I would. It is my hope that by watching the show tonight, your viewers will realize that us undead are not all monsters. Most of us are just people trying to make our way in a world that doesn't accept anything outside the norm. I hope that they give each individual a chance.
Seth, I would like to say thank you for sitting down and talking with us tonight.
Eli, it has been my pleasure, and I would like to thank you for allowing me the time to speak with you and those who chose to watch tonight.
I hope all of you watching tonight were educated as well as entertained. We must learn to accept what lies beneath the flesh and not upon it. We must judge on the actions of the individual. So, on behalf of Seth Devlin, his wife Kara, and myself, good night and good luck.